British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Sia Forio, and here's your news update to 3:30. BC Premier David Eby says the growing wildfire threatening the Fort Nelson area was held overnight and no homes burned down. Eby says a lot is going to depend on how the weather behaves in the next few days.
The situation is still very fluid and very dependent on weather over the next 24 hours, and certainly I want to reassure the people who live in the Fort Nelson area, Fort Nelson First Nation, residents of Fort Nelson, Doig River residents, that we are doing all we can to respond to fight that fire.
Fort Nelson and Fort Nelson First Nation have been under an evacuation order since Friday due to the 84 square kilometer Parker Lake wildfire. Evacuation orders were also issued for the Doig River First Nation and parts of the Peace River Regional District yesterday. While an evacuation order is in place for Fort Nelson, some residents like Dwayne Lowe have decided to stay behind.
We are safe, and we understand that those evacuation orders they can't force you out. So we are here to protect our property and our homes and the livestock. And the land. That's why we're staying.
Mayor Rob Fraser estimates about 50 people are staying behind in the town. Thousands of residents in the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo have been issued an evacuation order. A wildfire is burning and approaching Fort McMurray. The municipality has declared a state of local emergency. The evacuation order is in effect for Beacon Hill, Absand, Perry Creek, and Grayland Terrace. Convicted killer Alan Schoenborn wants to change his name to Ken John Johnson. Schoenborn attempted to have his name banned from publication, which set off a proposed law. A new bill was created to prevent people who have been convicted of serious crimes from changing their names. This includes violence against other people and acts against children, according to Health Minister Adrian Dix. His name change certificate was provided to the family of the victims, who then posted it on social media. Richard Dyke is facing additional charges, including 14 counts of sexual assault and 23 counts of making child pornography. Regina police say 32 more children have been identified during the sex abuse investigation involving Dyke. Dyke was initially arrested in November for sex offenses in multiple communities in southern Saskatchewan. This after receiving a report of sexual assault involving 3 boys under 12. With the children ranging from 18 months to 17 years old, Dyke was arrested at a home that operated as a daycare in Regina. Admitted serial killer Jeremy Skibicki is back in court today in Manitoba with testimony from a DNA expert. Skibicki is pleading not guilty to first-degree murder for killing 4 Indigenous women. One of them has yet to be identified, but has been named Buffalo Woman from the Elders. His lawyers are stating that he is not criminally responsible due to mental illness. Skibicki preyed on vulnerable women at homeless shelters, with the killings being racially motivated. This, according to the Crown prosecutors. Ontario Transportation Minister is cracking down on car thieves. The value of the 68 cars that have been stolen so far in 2024 amount to $790 million, according to the Toronto Chief Police, Demke.
This includes a lifetime license suspension for convicted auto thieves from ever driving again upon a third conviction, with 10 to 15-year suspensions for first and second convictions after serving sentences under the Criminal Code.
Demke also mentions that this is a 106% increase compared to the same period last year. The Vancouver Canucks will be playing against the Oilers in Edmonton tonight. This is Game 4 in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Viewing parties are set up around the Lower Mainland to watch the puck drop tonight. Shigon Jafar Buglu has more details on the economics of the situation.
Game 4 is an important game for Vancouver Canucks. They need this win in order to eventually eliminate the Oilers in the playoffs. There are several viewing parties set up across the Lower Mainland. Fans could even go to a local pub and watch the game and have a drink. These events can help out struggling small businesses with much-needed profits. Ian Tostenson, CEO of the Canadian Restaurants and Food Association, did some quick math.
For our industry in terms of added sales, could be as high as $1.5 million to $2 million per game.
However, as Ian explained, for restaurants or establishments which do not have TVs or cable service, Canucks games can be negative. Fans will attend other establishments which will be playing the game. Shigon Jafar Beglu with BCIT's The Crow.
We have Shigon in the studio to speak to us about these viewing parties. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for stopping by. So, Shigon, where are the viewing parties for tonight's game?
Well, there will be a viewing party at Rogers Arena tonight. However, all of the tickets are sold out. There will also be a big viewing party at Oak Meadows Park, which is free of charge. There will be other viewing parties across the Lower Mainland, and fans could even go to our local pubs and bars to enjoy the game and have a drink.
Nice. Okay, can you then tell us more about how viewing parties help small businesses or restaurants around the Lower Mainland?
Well, these viewing parties really help out small businesses and restaurants across the Lower Mainland, according to the Canadian Restaurants and Food Association. Each Canucks game can bring upwards of $2 million to just the restaurant industry. And these viewing parties are very important to small businesses and restaurants who have been struggling since the COVID pandemic.
Wow, that $2 million, that's a lot of money. That's really great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you can catch the game tonight.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Thank you so much. The BC government is taking steps to reduce the number of homeless people in the downtown east side. Our reporter Vivek Nagra explains how residents are managing to survive in the downtown east side.
According to the provincial government, the main shelter for the evicted people in downtown east side is the SROs. The province has introduced amendments at the request of City of Vancouver to enable the city to regulate the SRO vacancy control. SRO property manager Sam Hoare talks about the regulation of the SROs.
It's easy to look at numbers and then come up with a policy. It's a lot harder to actually be involved and then come up with a policy.
He feels that dealing with different people face to face is really hard. Vivek Nakra, BCIT is The Crow.
Checks and e-transfers are going out to Canadians who applied to be part of a class action lawsuit against Life Labs. The class action was launched against Life Labs after 2019 data breach allowed hackers to access the personal information of up to 15 million customers, mostly in BC and Ontario. Given the large number of valid claims, claimants will receive an e-transfer of $7.86. After KMG, which is administrating the claims, says the class action suit website that more than 900,000 valid claims were received. One of Canada's literal treasures has died. Don Kelly from the Canadian Press has the details.
Short story writer Alice Munro was 92. She won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2013 and was cited by the Swedish Academy as the master of the contemporary short story. Munro was the first lifelong Canadian to win the Nobel and the first recipient cited exclusively for short fiction. Her intricate tales depicting small-town southwestern Ontario earned her an international fan base and awards, including the Man Booker International Prize, the Commonwealth Writers' Prize, and multiple Scotiabank Giller Prizes and Governor General's Literary Awards. Don Kelly, The Canadian Press.
Monroe's most famous book is The Bear Came Over the Mountain. Now let's take a look at the weather. Today will be cloudy with breaks of sunshine with a high of 20 degrees and a low of 9. This week will be warmer as we reach the 21 degrees tomorrow and 18 degrees. That's been your news update to 3:30. I'm Sia Forio, BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon. I'm Matthias Jones with your 3:45 p.m. sports headlines. The Vancouver Canucks hit the ice again tonight for Game 4 in Edmonton. Defenseman Noah Juulsen will play his second game of the playoffs to replace Carson Soucy. Soucy was handed a one-game suspension for a cross-check to the face of Oilers captain Connor McDavid. Defenseman Nikita Zadorov shared his thoughts on the suspension after morning skate today.
Questionable decisions at the end of the day. That's how I look at it. At the end of the day, they have to protect their investment. So that's my understanding in this situation for sure.
Zadorov was fined $5,000 for his role in the end-of-game scrum that resulted in Soucy's suspension. The Oilers will also change things up tonight. Reporter Gemma Karsten-Smith tells us about a goaltending change.
It looks like the Oilers are going to swap their starting goaltender today for Game 4. It looks like they're going to go with Calvin Pickard in net. He actually played the third period of Game 3 on Sunday after Stuart Skinner was pulled after giving up 4 goals on 15 shots.
Heading into Game 4 tonight, the Canucks lead the series 2-1. In the East, the Boston Bruins will play Game 5 of their matchup against the Panthers in Florida tonight. The Panthers currently hold a 3-1 lead, and they will look to close out tonight at home. Bruins reporter Eric Russo updated fans about captain Brad Marchand's injury status.
Brad Marchand was back on the ice to join his teammates for morning skate, but will not play in Game 5.
Jim, just what are the chances that Marchand gives it a shot tonight?
Not an option tonight.
It's a good thing he's here. We're happy to have him on the trip, and we're just going to try to get the job done for him tonight.
No lineup changes are expected for the Bruins.
Canada's World Championship team faced Austria in Prague today. Canada took an early 6-1 lead, highlighted by Connor Bedard's 5th goal of the tournament. However, the Austrians were able to mount a 5-goal comeback in the third period to force overtime. However, 15 seconds into overtime, Canada's captain John Tavares scored to secure a 7-6 win for Canada. Canada now sits tied with Switzerland at the top of Group A. PWHL Montreal will play Game 3 of their series in Boston tonight. Montreal currently trails the series 2-0, but forward Kristen O'Neill says the pressure is on Boston.
We are down 2-0 in the series, so we kind of don't have anything to lose at this point. So I think in a different kind of way, it's a great position to be in, so we can kind of wear our heart on our sleeves and just, focus on the moment.
Over to basketball, WNBA first overall pick Caitlin Clark will make her Indiana Fever debut today. The Fever take on the Sun in Connecticut today. A sold-out arena is expected for the NCAA leading scorer's debut. The former Iowa guard and national champion will begin her WNBA career at 4:30 p.m. today. More from the WNBA. Golden State's new expansion team has announced their name. The team will be named the Golden State Valkyries. Team president Jess Smith discussed the growth of women's basketball with Good Morning America.
This moment is so much bigger than Golden State. It's so much bigger than the Valkyries, right? What we're seeing happen in women's sports right now is just the beginning of this sustainability and incredible growth around the game. And to have expansion in the W, and for us to be able to do that through the Bay Area, it means something really special.
The Valkyries will start their inaugural season in 2025 at Chase Center in San Francisco. 7,500 season tickets have already been sold. In the NBA, the Indiana Pacers will take on the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden tonight. The Pacers evened the series up with a 32-point win last game. The series is tied at 2 ahead of tonight's game. After that, the reigning champion Denver Nuggets will host the Minnesota Timberwolves for Game 5 of their series. The Nuggets will look to take a 3-2 series lead as it is currently tied at 2. In soccer, a clash between Giants Manchester City and Tottenham Hotspur has had a large effect on the Premier League title race. League-leading goalscorer Erling Haaland scored twice to give City a 2-0 win in London. This now puts City in first place ahead of their final match on Sunday. The loss for Spurs has put them outside of the top 4, which most likely will keep them out of next year's Champions League. Those are your news headlines to 3:45 p.m. I'm Matthias Jones, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
"24 of us showed up, slipped into the dragon boat, and off we went. Never to be the same again."
You know you're sitting amongst courageous, strong warriors who've all gone through their own journey. The roots of Abreast in a Boat run deep.
Carol Dale. I'm 84, and I was one of the original members of Abreast in a Boat in 1996, and I have not missed a season since. I was diagnosed while I was taking a break as an editor, so I was just 51. I was told just to be very careful. You were given some exercises in the hospital in those days, crawling your arm up the wall that was about the limit of exercise. I think you were supposed to just sit in your chair. Even knitting was thought to be not the right thing to be doing. Usually the affected arm was in grave danger of developing this lymphedema. Continued after that, volunteering with organizations that had something to do with breast cancer and awareness. And then along came a notice that on one of the committees on which I was sitting, said that this doctor at UBC was looking for, I called them guinea pigs, volunteers to join the dragon boat team to test his theory that it would not cause lymphedema. That's what Dr. McKenzie had heard from a patient who came to see him at the Sports Medicine Center. And he said, "That doesn't make any sense." So he said, "I'll test it." That's what he did. At the beginning, a little timid. We were out for an hour, and I think we paddled for 8 minutes. There were lots of stops. He was very patient with us. And then once we got more relaxed, of course, all we would do was talk. You're so close together in the boat, and if you stop for a minute, you've got something to say to the gal next to you, or in front of you, or behind you, or whatever. And the hilarity starts. You're having so much fun and getting to know each other. And there was a lot of laughter about the reason we were there and what we'd been through, and we told each other our stories. And so when we were sitting around thinking of what to call our team, it came up, well, why don't we call it Abreast in a Boat? Because that's what we are, abreast in a boat. Fine, we'll do it.
When I walked into that novice meeting, what was it, a month and a half ago or something, a month ago, and they're showing us women in their 80s who are still going to be on the boats with us, that was like such inspiration.
Never turn away a novice. The novices take precedence because they're princesses for a year, but only a year.
I'm pretty excited about it. Certainly they've told us it's a lot of work, and I believe it is from what I've seen out on the water, but yeah, it's something I've been wanting to do to kind of make this into a positive experience from something that's been challenging. I was diagnosed shortly after kind of the height of COVID, and then went through the process. I stayed really active through treatment, and I really saw that being active helped me stay healthier than some of the other people I knew. And so kind of in the back of my mind, I went, okay, so when I'm ready, this would be a really great way to keep that activity in my life. And as I said, have something positive and connecting with other women who've been through this. So.
Way to go. All right, now ready? So follow the paddle in front of you.
So my name is Yvonne Steish, and I've been paddling with the Breaston boat since 2007, which makes it 17 years this season. And this year I am one of 2 coaches on the boat.
And what we're going to do is we will start with a warm-up, then we will do our seating plan and walk down to the dock, and then we'll start.
I think the whole boat is full of people that show leadership. We have a manager, we have 2 captains, we have a social coordinator, safety coordinator, outreach, communication, you name it. And I think it's all of us working together to create that kind of safe haven for newcomers. What happened was I discovered abreast and about through my work team. So we happened to be down here at a regatta, and often during regattas there's all this time between races and it gets a little boring. So you go shopping and then you go look at kiosks and information booths and things like that. And I stumbled upon the abreast and about booth. They had these old-fashioned photo albums, and in each album was a picture of a woman and a description, a very short description. I ended up reading every single one of them because it turned out those were their angels, the ones who had passed away. So I read through all of them, and then I went on and raced and promptly sort of forgot about it. 6 months later, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. I think my body knew something was going on, that my mind, the consciousness wasn't there yet and the awareness wasn't there. So then I went through all my treatments, and interesting enough that even though people were saying to me, oh, this is your team, you gotta join them. At first, I actually said, no, I don't want to do it. I would see them out there, and the reason why was I don't like pink. That was one reason. But the second reason was that I just really thought that once I was finished with the treatments, that I would be able to just close that chapter of my life and just sort of go on. And it was just like, it would be done. I think you're never really over it. You're never over that memory. And that every time you go for a mammogram, which in my case is annually, that fear comes up. Just being with other women that you can share that experience with, that was what kind of drove me to join Abreast and About.
My name is Lori Geositz, and I'm going into my 2nd year. Novice no more is what they say. So I signed up and went to the new member meeting in January, and I was thrilled to get going. I said, you know what? Life's too short, and when you've come through breast cancer and the type that I had, which is a rare type, you live every day fully. I was standing at the railing just down by Science World, and a woman and her husband came up, and she had a handkerchief over her head. And she came in, and we were chatting. She says, are you on a breast and a boat dragon team? And I said, yes, dragon boat team. I said, yes, I am. She says, I'm just going through cancer treatments, and I've used to dragon boat, and I'd really love to dragon boat again. And she said, I am so happy to meet you. I get shivers saying this right now, that to be in the right place at the right time. And I said, when you're ready, when you're finished treatment and the dwell time is finished, you come join us.
Got the news and had to absorb it. The surgeon that I had to give my choice to, gave me a copy of Dr. Susan Love's breast book because he knew that I'd like to have information. Little did he know that I couldn't absorb the information. You know, your head goes a little weird. We walked along the seawall after that appointment, and all I could do was look at women's breasts who were coming toward me. You've just been told you're going to be without one. And what do you think you're going to look like? You're not going to look like all those women that are walking towards you that are totally normal. It gets to be a little weird, kind of obsessional.
I was healthy. I was 55 years old, went for my mammogram. I'm really careful about screening, really diligent about screening. I went in for a mammogram August 18th. It was sunny, it was hot. Gorgeous day, had my mammogram on a Friday afternoon. Oh, that's done, had an ice cream cone, nice treat. And went to the Canadians baseball game on the Sunday, and Monday I was getting the call back.
I had actually been doing mammogram. My mom had cancer, so since I was like early 30s, and I was used to the whole going in, stressed out, recalls, okay, it's nothing, and so it caught me off guard when it finally wasn't a nothing.
My first mammogram after my treatments, fine. I got called back 2 days later, and they said, oh, we need to come in again and do a bit more testing. My heart just dropped. Even now, I can feel it in my chest, what it felt like.
While I'm happy to be past it, there still are those niggling worries in my head and all of that come up. So
They can't say to you, you have a long life ahead of you. They don't know enough about it yet.
And that's kind of what it is. It affects the family, it affects everything that goes into your, your existence, everything in your life. It does. Where it becomes difficult is loss and grief. When you have a recurrence or when you have a loss, it's shared, and it's easier when it's shared.
That's why we're here. That's why we just keep it going. Until we end breast cancer, we need each other.
We were the only breast cancer team, of course.
It's a great sisterhood locally, but it's also an incredible sisterhood internationally. Also, every 4 years that there is this international regatta in different countries around the world, and you go there and you're with 4,000, 5,000 other women all dressed in pink and variations of pink. But it is like just seeing that sea of women all together and, not just surviving but thriving.
If Don hadn't come up with that idea, none of it would have happened. I was at a regatta in Australia about 15 years ago, and the man who was standing behind him just tapped him on the shoulder and said, "You're Dr. Mackenzie. Thank you for giving me back my wife."
You really are a sisterhood, and we formed such a connection, such a bond.
the idea of having that community around certainly is something that will be a good thing in my life.
I get the fun and the laughter and the support and the comfort. It changes your life.
It's a vibration and energy. Really, I couldn't think of a better team to be on.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.